Hi, this is Lyndon, and this is my handpan story. This story is about my C-sharp Ysha Savita PanAmor Handpan. First off, I'd just like to say how amazing it was hearing Amy Naylor's story about her Alaya Desert Rose. That's a really special instrument. I'm lucky enough to have played it once as well. So thank you, Amy, for that. And thank you, Phil, for this awesome podcast. I've really been enjoying listening to this over the past few months. So my story, as I said, is about a particularly special instrument to me. It's a goes back to about 2018. I was without a job for a while, and a friend of mine, Daryl, who's the maker of PanAmor Handpans in Exeter, in Devon. I was chatting to him, and he said, would you like to come work with me in the workshop? So, which is fantastic. I got a couple of days a week working with Daryl. Ended up there for about 2 years, but in that first sort of 6 months, I've been making lots of different instruments with Daryl. My main job was sort of helping create the bodies of those instruments, and yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. But I had started playing at weddings at that point, but I had two instruments. I had an F sharp minor and a D Saladin, which is almost like a Hijaz. Really, neither of which were particularly good for playing at weddings. You could sort of get a D major scale putting the two of them together, but I really needed something that was a bit happier. So I started researching scales, and I came across a particular video by Jesse at Go Down Handpans, and it was this C sharp Ysha Savita scale, and it had a couple of extra bottom notes. It had an F3 and an F sharp 3 underneath. Did a little bit of research about it. It's a beautiful scale, really uplifting. I found out that it was actually named after Peter Levitov's daughter. Yeah, really fell in love with the sound of this instrument. I thought, well, yeah, maybe this is going to be my next handpan. And I sort of over the next few weeks started planning out how it might look and the notes, and added a couple of extra notes. There was a E flat underneath and a F underneath as well. Some nice high notes, and I really enjoyed the process of kind of creating how this instrument would be, and with Daryl's help, created the instrument, which he then very kindly tuned for me, and even kinder, actually, when it came to Christmas, gifted me that instrument, which I still immensely grateful for. Such a generous thing of him to have done, and it's really that. I've been on such a journey with this particular instrument in so many ways. I'm going to tell you, there's so many overlapping stories that have happened since I've had this. The first story I'd like to tell you is about a piece of music that I composed with it. In fact, no, I didn't compose it with it, but it happened to change when I played it on this instrument. So it's quite sad, but while my mum was in a hospice in 2017, and I took my handpans in and I was playing, and as I said, between those two handpans that I had at that point, I could play in D major, and I'd come up with a lovely piece of music that I liked. Sat by my mum's bedside. I called it Blackbird. The meaning of Blackbird is it's in folklore is a transition. It's a herald of transition, and so I'd come up with this piece of music that was very special to me. It's there was a sadness to it, but it was also it's a celebration of my mum's life. Anyway, after she passed away, and in 2018, and I'm working with Daryl, built this instrument. I hadn't had it very long, and I took it out during my lunch break, and I was sat outside of the PanAmor workshop, just playing around, and my hands just went to that melody that I played across the two handpans, and it just fitted so beautifully onto this C sharp handpan, and it played so naturally, so much more naturally than it had done across those two other handpans. And that was the beginning of me starting to use that piece, play that piece on this instrument. I have it's actually become a piece of music that I pretty much start almost all of my concerts. Whenever I play a performance, it grounds me. It makes me feel it makes me feel like my mum's there, and it just gives me that connection with my instruments and with the people that I'm playing for. So I almost always start with that piece now, or have done ever since I started playing it. And I've also used Blackbird in other ways as well. I made a video for it back probably about 2018, 2019, which I'll send to Phil. You can have a listen to it if you like. But I've also used that particular piece of music in workshops. I do a lot of workshops using handpan in lots of different settings with children, in schools. I've been into prisons, and I do lots of different workshops with adults and retreats and different things like that. I use it as a way of getting people to connect with their imagination. So closing their eyes and actually allowing the music to just take them somewhere. And it's fascinating, the themes that come up whenever I play that particular piece of music. So I ask people just to sit quietly, and I'll play for, I don't know, about a minute and a half, part of the piece. People always see, well, whenever I've done this, and I've probably done this exercise 100, 150 times now, certain themes always come up, and those themes are water, forests, and beaches, so sunsets and beaches. Always, whenever I do it. Also the colours blue and green. So it's really fascinating that you can kind of create these pictures in people's heads. And what was even more amazing for me was a workshop that I did with a group of, they must have been about 7 years old, group of children. And I actually got them to do some drawing while I was playing the piece of music. And I said, just draw whatever comes to your mind. And I never told them what the piece of music was about. And this little 7-year-old boy drew a picture of himself, and around him these little black squiggles. When I asked what it was afterwards, he said, "Oh, it's lots of blackbirds flying around my head." That was the picture that I got. Which again, well, actually made me cry. It's so, as I said, that piece of music played on that particular handpan has become a real feature of both my performances and my workshops now, and it feels really close to me.